Louisiana beer reviews. George Killian's Irish Red Lager. Introduced in 1981 as a U.S. produced recipe version of the George Killian's Irish Red Ale of France. Alright, there's a signature George Killian Let, L-E-T-T. Really the Let family branch of the Killian's family. It says brewed in the Irish tradition. Okay, so it started in Ireland in 1864. They were doing red ales and other stuff. And then they went bankrupt in the 20s and got bought out. Some people in France bought their recipe, a company called Pelforth, who produces like a 6% ale in France. And that company is owned by Heineken today. So they license Coors, who's now in a 50-50 merger with Molson and known as Molson Coors, to produce this lager. It's sold in only 2 stores in this town and some in New Orleans. We only get the 6-packs here. If you go into the city, you might find like at Rouse's 12-packs of bottles only. I don't see cans anymore. I know they're still made because I saw somebody on Facebook put a picture of a 12-pack of cans. They used to make those little barrel cans, and I've had it on draft at like Yale College Inn when they used to have it on draft. So it's been made by Coors for 36 years and produced off and on, mostly on, but off for a while since 1864. Okay. Unibev Limited. That's sort of like a Molson Coors import specialty beverage section. I don't think they have a website. It says ale in Texas, certified kosher, product of the USA. 5.4% alcohol. Okay, so pretty good alcohol level, 5.4. That's why it says ale in Texas. Now somebody told me that law changed. I don't know if that's really true, but they said they don't have to do that anymore over there. Beige head and a very red copper appearance. Now that is a red beer. They don't add coloring. It's just water, barley malt. The roasted malts give it the red appearance. Hops, yeast, and some filler like brewer syrup, that corn syrup stuff. Okay. The aroma's not too bold, but it's there. It's just like a sweet beer aroma. You know what most people watching these videos know what common beer smells like. Kind of bready, sweet, little standard grain aroma. I think most people, if they smelled this, wouldn't think it was too unusual. I mean, the Bud Light drinkers next door, they might find it like sort of exotic, you know. It's got a pretty full flavor. Sweet. Think of like a brown bread crust with a little spiciness to it. I don't mean like a spiced bread. It's hard to describe. Like a spiciness in the bread crust. Some of those breads have that. Maybe like a little honey flavor. Kind of, yeah. Bitterness has got to be pretty low here. I mean, I can taste that it's low, but the IBU is probably around 12. Body's just straight medium bodied, not light, not heavy, medium, crisp finish, easy going. They said it has ale-like fruit esters. That's what they said on the Killian's Irish Red website. They don't give the ingredients on that website. They do on the Miller Coors website. And the Killian's Irish Red is mostly red website is like a little bit of history, kind of cheeky history, not real good. They kind of skim over the part about the company going out of business. They mostly focus there on food pairings, like saying you could have this with steak covered with onions, and they said the caramelized onions would go well with the caramelized malts. Like be a good play off of each other, and then some kind of ribs you could have it with, and there was some kind of hot wings. There's like 5 different food pairings, and there's different recipes. Oh, and they had pairing it with fish and chips, and they talk about how it would go well with that, the batter and everything. And then they talk about recipes you can make that should work for like drinking this beer. Okay, so it's pretty nice, and then there's a locator tool to help you pinpoint where to find it. It seemed accurate. Is it a popular product today? No, it never really did become too popular. They used to have commercials on TV for a while back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess. But still never seemed to catch on, really. It was sort of like in the early 80s with this craft beer movement just starting to burgeon, right? The burgeoning craft beer movement with Sierra Nevada, Pale Ale, and the Boulder Brewing in 1979 with their products. And so you had companies like Coors thinking maybe it would be a good idea to bring in some more specialty products, like a red beer, which in 1980 in America would consider, 1981 I mean to say, would be considered kind of strange or unusual. So it's kind of meant to be along those lines. They didn't use the term craft beer back then, but they would say more like specialty beers. Now in the 90s, yes, because I have that 1996 Anheuser-Busch brochure, and there was a whole line, and I think they said craft beer, and it was a whole line, like maybe 15 different beers, all kind of stuff. They had stouts, ales, red lagers, brown ales, a whole bunch of stuff, and they were trying to. So way back, over 30 years ago even, all of these companies were trying to get into that. But it just didn't, for the most part, make it. I guess people in the specialty beer hobby world looked at it as like, that's big companies trying to cash in on this. Which, of course, it was. But I tried a lot of those. The ones I could find, like from Michelob and Anheuser-Busch, and they were very good to me. How about this one? Rate beer, beer advocate, hate it. Say, it's bad, yeah. I think it does have a lot of good qualities, the roastedness. More like toasted than roasted, maybe. I think it would go well with beef stew, with some rice, white rice or long grain rice in there. With broccoli, maybe, yeah. Broccoli and cheese, not too heavy on the cheese. Yeah, something like that. Maybe baked macaroni with some ground meat on the side. So I'm just thinking, All right. It's nice. It's, I guess a B+. It's very good, but I wouldn't go into excellent. But for $7.99 a 6-pack, it's something to try if you've never had it. I used to have some of the other ones faded. Here's one that's kind of faded right here where light hit it. Older label. Here's an older label. See, compared to this one. Wish I had kept the cans. I think the can got faded too. I keep windows open and stuff, let fresh air in, and light, even ambient light, not direct sunlight, will fade stuff. Brewed under license from Français de Brasserie. Yeah, that's the French brewery, Pelforth. George Killian left Enniscorthy, Ireland. Excuse me. Slow roasted caramel malt, same thing back then. And this bottle date is saying April of 2007. Is that what I'm saying? I guess April 2007. Okay, so it's 10 years old. Thought it was even older. Okay, 10 years old. That's what it looked like. All right, so there's a label. Sorry for the long video, but I get interested in these brands. If you noticed with my beer reviews, I mostly focus on brands, like the history of the brands, and this brand does this brand does that. I'm not really pushing like the movement, I'm just pushing, looking at brands, drinking them, talking about them, moving on. Next, look at the next brand, drink it, talk about it, and down the line. So, des les bons temps roulés. I like it. Y'all come on down to Southeastern Louisiana.